Have you ever thought to yourself, why is it important to build my network and get in proximity with powerful people? Well, today we're going to dive deep into that as in this episode of why it's important, how to do it more importantly, because there's a step-by-step process of getting into the proximity of powerful people. So stay tuned as we dive deep into this.
Get ready to improve your mindset, increase your skill set, and expand your network. Follow along as the CEO of Master Networks brings you over a decade of business networking experience. Welcome to Word of Mouth with Chaz Wilson. One of our favorite sayings around the office, that was a really awkward way to start, but one of our favorite sayings around the office is, you're only one relationship away from changing your future. We actually have it on the wall in our office where we meet, so it's just kind of always front of mind. Where did that saying come from?
We actually brainstormed it because we were trying to find a way to talk about something that has impacted all of us. Like, there's things that happen in your life or things that have impacted you, and it's important to create the language, like the language of an organization, the language of teams, the language of other things. They create a culture. And so when we really dive into the things that we say around here, we know that it builds the culture. So we wanted a way to articulate something that has been a huge impact in my life and those around us. And I remember I said something like, your one relationship something. I don't remember what I said. And I kept bouncing it off of Corey and Sarah and some of the other team members. And honestly, we just went out to the whiteboard. We kind of like I kept mapping out your one relationship, what? And it's because it's one key relationship has changed everything, et cetera, et cetera. And then that's how we kind of wrote it out. And we went, that's it. You're one relationship away from changing your future.
I actually like that you had the team involved in brainstorming that too. I've noticed that even now, we always pull team members in, core values, brilliant in the basics, everything like that. So it kind of
it's because the brainstorming, the power of more people, right? The more minds at something, you can get it done faster. That's the mastermind.
So what does that mean for you personally? The one relationship away. What has that done for you?
Yeah. Well, let me send it back to you. Think about the most important relationships in your life, right? Or the most important things you have or things you've accomplished have probably come through or around or because of a relationship, right? So for everyone listening today, you're sitting there driving or you're watching this, think about for a second, what is the most important things you have in your life? They're also probably relationships. It's the thing we care about the most. So that's what it means for me personally. I mean, I think about, for me, that all the things of significance in my life are because of relationships. You know, my 5 children, my significant other, my wife. It's that level of what it's done for me and changed my future. You know, on one of our previous episodes, we said if we had a remote, could we pause, go in the future, go back, etc. But the reality is that those relationships are what got me here today. So if I went back, what I'd do is I'd have to go circle back and hit all of those same relationships because that's what got me where I am.
You'd have to go back and try to recreate some stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that actually is the perfect segue into our guest for today.
Yes.
Our guest for today is Corey Baumann, COO of Master Networks and regional partner. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Are you excited to be here?
I'm excited.
So before we start with any questions or jump into the conversation, how do you and Chaz know each other?
Oh boy.
How do we know each other or how do we
know?
meet?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with how you guys met, since I guess they're different.
We meet. So we
Feels like a couple. Like, all right, you go, and then I'll tell the real story.
I know.
And then I want to hear the truth afterwards.
Back in the day, Chaz and I go way back. No, we kind of do go way back. So I met Chaz. We were at I was a member in the Pennsylvania region at the time, and we had a mastermind. So back in the day, we used to call them masterminds, and they were basically like our workshops that we do now in our regions. And Chaz was at one in the Harrisburg area, and I had just attended it, and I was there, and then we had lunch, and there was it was like a round table lunch, and so everybody got together, and I was like, I want to sit and learn from Chaz. Like, I want to see, and there was, I think there was like 8 other people at the table or something like that. And I want to ask Chaz some questions, and I probably got like one question because everybody was like trying to get his time, but I met him there. We didn't really talk much there, but then we had.
Do you remember your question? Because I don't.
I don't.
Okay,
I
just
have no
curious. I
idea.
wondered.
Guess
if you
it must
remember.
not have been
no
that
idea.
good then.
No,
Yeah.
it's good though.
Maybe I didn't even get a question. I have no idea.
I do remember where you were sitting in the room because I remember us having a conversation from the front of the room. You were participating, which is a big part of it too. But
Yeah. So we had that interaction, brief, if you want to call it that. And then I had reached out later on because I knew Chaz. So Chaz and I were both in real estate, or Chaz wasn't at the time, but I was, and was growing a real estate team. And at the time, I was looking for a new coach. And Chaz kind of was at a place with his real estate business when he started Master Networks that I wanted to kind of take my real estate business to. And I was looking for a new coach at the time, kind of outside of the organization I was in. And so I reached out, and then we started to build a relationship through that. But so that's kind of how we met. I mean, we met at a Master
and the
Networks
relationship that almost didn't happen.
because of me.
Well, no, I mean,
But I mean, it was.
so Corey reached out shortly after and said, "Hey, I'm looking for a coach." And I said, "Good news, I have a spot." Or no, I said I have a spot because I was coaching. My rule was 5 at the time because I was building Master Networks, but I wanted to also coach a few people to offset for income while we were starting. And I laid out what the deal looked like, the terms, everything, and he's like, "Well, let me think about it." And I was like, "Okay, fine, think about it over the weekend, but you need to make a decision." And hey, I'm not sure. And then a couple weeks went by.
Yeah.
And I still remember walking into my office and somebody locally had reached out who's like, "I'm interested in coaching." I wasn't excited about coaching that person. So I thought, all right, I need to fill that spot. So I'm going to reach out to Corey. And I said something to the effect that, "Corey, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you that you asked me to coach you. You asked about it. You were interested, but you haven't pulled the trigger yet. If you don't pull the trigger today or tomorrow, whatever it was, I gave you like a deadline. I don't remember how long. Then just move on." Because
It was the end of the weekend.
Yeah,
it was
something
it was
like that.
Thursday or Friday.
And then he's like, "No, you're right. Let's go." And then that's how it started.
It
But
just took a little push.
yeah, I had to sort of like lay that there, and then he came on board. And then the thing about Corey, which we'll talk about the topic today, the reason why we connected was everything that he wanted to achieve in that coaching relationship that I said, "Okay, this is the step you would need to take." He went and did it.
Gotcha.
And that was important.
So let's jump right into that then. So what had you set in place? Like, what did he need to do?
As far as from the coaching to grow his real estate business. Yeah. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff. Like I remember one of the first things we talked about was for him to get where he wanted to go, you had to hire somebody.
Yeah.
And as most entrepreneurs, it's scary. And it was, obviously wasn't as scary for me at that point. I'd hired a few people over my life, but hiring your first person. And I remember us talking about it and talking through and having some of those questions, but then he just went and did it. When he found the right candidate, he pulled the trigger. And that was probably the biggest thing that you implemented right out of the gate.
Game changer.
Yeah.
Game changer. Yeah. And that was like, I needed that push too. Cause I just didn't have the right person pushing me. I don't think. And Chaz was very matter of fact, like he said. And if you know Chaz, like, it's, set the expectation and execute on it. And I did. And it changed that person's life too.
I was about to say.
There's more to the story, but like that person then was given an opportunity. Then now she's working for a high producing, top real estate company in the country. And she's their like lead, I think listing specialist or something like that. But so it created opportunities through that, but yeah.
So that's like the perfect example of one relationship away right there. It's like a chain of events.
Yeah. So, how that evolved too was as I grew and was looking for stuff, it was kind of hard because I kind of had this conflict of interest thing as I'm his coach, but I'm also looking and I said, all right, we're growing Master Networks. We need talented people in Pennsylvania to help grow. And so kind of we reached out and said, look, we need some help out in that area. And he started growing some chapters and so on and so forth. But, the thing about Corey is, and what we talk about is this power of proximity.
Yes.
Right. And Corey, and I'm not sure, you can answer this too from your perspective, but the thing is, and I was just checking an email, right? And this this kind of sets the tone. Somebody who's, leaving Master Networks and is upset because we haven't used their services. And the thing that I would, and I'm being very transparent and raw on this, but the thing that I would reach out to this person and say, here's the question. Why not? Why haven't we? You know why? Because I don't know who he is.
Right.
I couldn't tell you right now if I saw him who he is. I couldn't tell you right now what chapter he's in without looking it up. I couldn't tell you anything about him. The difference was when Corey got into my proximity, I started thinking, when I'm thinking of positions that need to be filled and things I want to do to expand my business, he was in the conversation, right? I don't know how it was for you from your perspective, but
I mean, a big part of it was, at the time I saw kind of where Master Networks was heading, and I talk about this a lot. I looked at, not even just from the chapter level, but when Chaz started to ask me to kind of help out in some of the other regions in the East Coast, and it was the East Coast primarily, I started to really look at like who was involved with Master Networks other than Chaz. 'Cause I knew Chaz, but who else has aligned themselves with Master Networks? And so it was people like Dave Jenks and other people that I kind of already knew had some credibility, had done things. And I'm like, well, if they're aligning with Master Networks, I want to be in proximity to those people also.
great point.
And so that led me to just want to do more with it. But I think I don't want to like jump ahead, but I think it's twofold, right? When people think about getting into proximity, it's intentional, but it's not like you may receive a benefit from doing that, but the intention should not be to get into proximity to receive something necessarily. It's how can I give? And in some cases, like especially when we started coaching and then I started doing some things I would try to get creative of ways that I could like maybe add value to something Chaz was doing. And that was like kind of me giving back to him to go, no, I'll go to this region. Like, I don't care. Like I'll fly there or whatever.
Yep.
And so part of it is when you get into proximity, you have to look at ways that you can add to that person's circle also. Because we look at like, well, let's get in proximity with people that are doing stuff that we want to do. And that's important. But like, how do you add, and so I'd talk to like Sarah or whoever at HQ and I'd be like, how can I support you guys? That kind of thing.
Right.
So I always looked at like, I'm getting this tremendous value by being in proximity to Chaz and Dave and all these people, but how do I help? And it's not necessarily something that just comes to you. Like you have to get intentional about it.
But you said something that was really powerful that most people miss. Think of it like a resume. When you have a job or whatever, you're building your resume or a portfolio, right? If you're a designer or something, you're building your portfolio. By being in proximity with powerful people, you're building a portfolio.
Right.
And so the reason why you saw that is because I had gotten into proximity with people like Dave and many others. That created validity and credibility in the mission we were doing. So that's another component of why building that portfolio or your network of people is important, because you saw that going, okay, if he's associating with these people, then there's credibility there. And I think people miss the credibility piece in the proximity of being around powerful people.
I also love that you said it was intentional. You intentionally put yourself in proximity with Chaz and his group that he was in proximity with as well.
Yeah, and I say this a lot, and people can like think what they want or whatever, but like think it's like fluff or whatever. But honestly, like when we moved out here back in 2017, part of it was like I saw this big vision and I wasn't able to do enough just living in Pennsylvania. Like I was like, man, if I move out to Texas, I can do more. I can like serve more of our members at a higher level and stuff. And that was a big piece of it, to move out here. So,
well, that's really the important piece is like, let's think about it right now. So you're listening to this and you think, I want to get into proximity with someone that could influence my life. Like I could think of, there's a specific group of people that I keep a list of, which we can talk about, but I've even thought about it recently. So one of them, he does workshops all the time. Well, I could sit and try to message him on social media. We've even had a phone call before. I don't think, and that was probably a year ago. I don't think if I picked up the phone and called him right now, he'd know who I was. Even though we've had actually it was a Zoom call, so we saw each other face to face.
Yeah.
I still don't think he would know who I am. So how do I change that?
Yeah.
Probably the best thing is, and we talk about this all the time, buy your way, earn your way kind of thing, right?
I was hoping you would go here.
Yeah, so, okay. So buy my way in. You bought your way into a mastermind. I would buy my way into this gentleman's coaching. Number one, it shows that I'm there. I'm physically in his presence. I'm bought into him, and I'm also pulled out my wallet and invested in what he's teaching. I think so many times people try to skip that. Go, ooh, I just really want to get in their presence, so let me just try to get around them. Look, they know that. They know if you're not bought in. So I bought my way in, and I can show up. And then from there, it becomes the skill of earning my way.
Yep.
And that's where Corey showed up at other kinds of things was because he earned his way there.
I mean, honestly, part of it was, I mean, yeah, I needed coaching at the time, but part of it was that like, this gets me one-on-one, face-to-face time where I'm going to be able to grow my real estate business. But then I'm also getting the guy that started Master Networks, and I had a ton of questions at the time because I was starting a group, and that like it was getting to have access to Chaz. Honestly, I mean that was a big part of it too.
Yeah, that happens a lot, right?
So
For
how
all
do
of
you
us.
decide who you want to be in proximity with? What kind of people
That's
do
a-
you choose?
That's a good question. That's the magic, right? You're listening to this going, who, first of all, who, right?
And I'm sure it could be different for different people depending on their industry or what they're trying to achieve. But
Or more, let me just rephrase that. It's more about what you want, right? So what are the goals that I have? What are the goals you have? And then you think about who could help you get there, right? So for example, let's just say, which is kind of accurate, let's say I want to get in better shape,
okay.
okay? So I could look for somebody, 3 or 4 people. In fact, I was doing this last night. I was looking at and messaging some of my friends like, okay, I can see you're on a health journey or you've talked about it. Who was your coach? Who influenced you? Who helped you? Well, it's one of these, I get 3 or 4 names back. Actually, you know what's really crazy? One of the people I am in proximity with, Ryan Lee, when I went and visited his home, we went and worked out at a gym. I think I told you I worked out
Yeah.
like 3 days.
Yep.
The guy runs that gym, and I got referred to him, and it wasn't from Ryan; it was from somebody else. That's crazy.
That's
Small
funny.
world, right? So, but using the bond technique, guess how I'll start the conversation? Hey, I've been to your gym.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be somebody I would probably want to be in proximity with, and why? Because it will help me get where I want to go because he has proven success. So the how do I choose for me, and then let you kind of jump into this, is that it's more about where am I trying to get to that I can't get by myself.
Gotcha.
And I look for people who can get me there.
Yeah, I have a great example. Like this was after I had gotten in a relationship with Master Networks and Chaz and all that stuff. So I had run like some 5Ks and stuff like that, and I wanted to do like a mud race or something like that. And I looked into these different things, and I found the Spartan race. But I didn't know anybody that ever ran a Spartan race. I knew people that ran like mud races, but Spartan's a little bit different. And so I was like, I literally started like training for this thing. I have no idea. I'm like, I need to learn how to I figured out these obstacles, and it was all new to me. Yep. And so I had literally looked on Facebook and different places and found a gym. The gym owner ran Spartan races. And so I was like, well, I'll go check this gym out, and I went and checked the gym out, met the owner, got a membership, and literally worked out with a group of people that had already done Spartan races previously. They took me up to the mountain where we ended up running the first Spartan race, and that is invaluable. Like I can guarantee you I never would have completed that race without getting in relationship with those people. And I didn't it was a challenging thing. I mean, it was it ended up being almost 13 miles, and basically it was on a ski mountain. And we went there 4 or 5 times, and we ran the course, and it just, I don't know, there was just so much help to doing that. And getting in relationship with those people and having support and being able to kind of know what's ahead of you, that kind of thing. It was invaluable.
Well, it's also, this shows that you don't just do this for your business or to grow a business or anything like that. It's a personal thing too. You can do this in your day-to-day life.
You should.
Yeah.
You should. Think about it for anything you're trying to do. And I mean, honestly, it's no different than what I teach my kids about who they hang out with, who they associate with, who are their friends. You've heard the phrase, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. I mean, it's entirely true because your future is dependent on the people you're associating with. If you want more money, well, don't spend time with the people who have the same income level as you. Honestly, even in social settings, because the more you associate with people who are where you want to be, they will help you get there just through the conversations you're having, the challenges they'll, think about if Corey, and I don't say this as a pat on my back, I'm just saying if Corey in those early days wanted to get somewhere in real estate and I didn't have the challenging statement of, well, look, you said this is where you want to go. I can help you get there. If you want to do it, you need to decide. Had I not had the power to have that conversation, who knows what, I mean, he probably still would get there, but it could have been later. It could have been longer. And And that's why just associating ourselves with people like that who will challenge us to be better is important.
I'm sure that's hard for some people, though. They don't want to get into a relationship with somebody who's going to challenge them. They don't want to.
For sure.
Yeah. So how do you change your mindset around that? Put yourself in a good place to be challenged or pushed or...
Yeah, I mean, you constantly have to challenge your own mindset. And I think that becomes a skill in itself, right? Is what's the attitude I need to take into something? And we're constantly adjusting. Like having a quote bad attitude about it or having a wrong mindset isn't in itself bad. It's can you be aware of it and adjust it?
Right.
Like, so I joked with you guys today. I said, I'm in a mood today. Like when I first got here and I was like kind of fiery, not upset. I was just a little like,
And now you're much better because you're on this podcast.
right?
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's like we said earlier today, it's also because I got into activity.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's one thing to just look at it and say, I have the mindset and the attitude, but am I aware of it?
Gotcha.
I think there's like we're talking about the positive product or positive result of proximity. Then it obviously goes the other way too. You got to be careful who you're in proximity with on all levels, right? We're looking at getting in proximity with being able to achieve something, but we have to look around us right now and see who we're in proximity with. I know the quote proximity has changed for me over the years, from like high school to college to like just transitioning in different areas of my life. When you have an entrepreneurial mindset, that doesn't really, you might not relate as well as you would to somebody who wants to work a 9-to-5 job.
Yep.
And not that those people are bad, but your proximity almost naturally changes as you progress too.
That makes sense.
Think about it this way. What if you were dropped off in any town, USA? Doesn't matter. Any town. And you had to start. I'm watching this show, Undercover Billionaire, right? Grant Cardone's on it. Glenn, can't think of the guy. It's escaping me. The guy that was there the first season, Glenn something. He, they're dropped in, they given $100 and they have to turn it in 90 days, turn that $100 into $1 million idea. And I've often thought, okay, if that was me, what would I do? The first thing I would do is I would go in and say, who do I need to know in this town? It is not the idea that's going to make the difference. It's who do you know that's going to make, who would I need to be in proximity with? It's interesting because Grant does that in the first episode. He walks into this RV dealer and he asks the guy, starts to build a relationship. And within the first 30 minutes of that relationship, obviously he's getting some housing and food set up and so forth. The very next question he asks is, who do I need to know in this town?
Yep.
And of course he gets a name, which leads him to another name and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It is literally no different than that. Who do I need to know? That's the word of mouth thing. Who do I need to know? That's how you get into proximity, to even know who should be on that list.
And this isn't physical proximity. This can also be done virtually, especially in a very like Zoom-centric kind of world. So you don't have to be physically close to someone.
Well, I think there's physical and a mental proximity. As I was saying with Corey, it's not so much that we had physically been in the same presence a lot, but mentally I was thinking of him because when you're like, okay, who are the top 10 people that I should be thinking about for this opportunity? Is there mental proximity there? Am I thinking about that person? Just like think about it in your business. There's only, like if I said, all right, Katie, let's ask Katie real quick. Name me top 2 brands of toothpaste.
Colgate and I don't know.
But how many are there?
Crest, yeah.
There's a bunch,
And you can think of one.
Yeah.
Good old Colgate.
Crest.
Crest,
Colgate,
that was what I would have
Aquafresh,
said.
Colgate, Crest. Okay, so what do you buy?
I don't know. I don't even know the red box.
I think that's
Aquafresh.
Colgate. But here's the point. Your mind can only hold a spot for up to 2 to 3 of anything. Think about that. So as you're thinking about people, what's the brand recognition of people of proximity for the mental space they're taking? If they're not thinking of you, they're not going to call you.
That's fascinating. I did not know that.
Well, you could prove it again. Just think of any other brand of something, like
Car.
yeah.
Brand of car.
How many I mean, you could probably rattle off 5 or 6 or 7,
Yeah.
right? Cars especially because it's all but think of something a little more abstract. Like give me a name, give me a brand, give me hairspray. Think of 3 brands of hairspray. Dove, Tresemme, See, it's a challenge.
See, that's it.
You see that's
those
my
are the
point.
two I had too.
My point is that there's only so much mental space you can give this. So who's in your mental space as well?
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the point of mental and I think here's what we should do for our listeners is we should talk about how do you identify? I think it's people that when you're committed to a target, then you will find people that will help you get to that target. So number one, what's your target? Number two, who can get you there? And then number three, how do you get into their proximity? I think that's the key.
I think sometimes the pain pushes you too. If the pain's painful enough, like I was at a place in my real estate business where like I was just banging my head against the wall, and I had like 3 different coaches, and 2 were good, 1 was not just a good fit, and I was just like, what's the next thing? And it was like I kind of knew what the next thing was, but I needed that accountability piece, and I needed to and the pain was so bad there because I wasn't making the income I wanted to make, and I wanted to take it to the next level, and so it was painful enough to have the courage, right? To
Gotcha.
invest the money into coaching. So
who's somebody you want to get into proximity with?
Oh gosh, why do you have to ask me that? I don't
It's a
know.
live show.
Jeez, I don't know. I didn't even know I wanted to be in proximity of you guys until I was there.
do you still?
And by the end of the day, it could be different.
I mean, by the end of this episode, it could be different. But no, I don't know at the moment. But I'm also not intentionally seeking it.
That's the key. That's why I say, like, if right now you could sit down and you had to list out list out 10, like we were talking about brands, but list 10 people you want to be in proximity with right now. It's not as easy as you think because
I can't think of a single person.
But it's because we're not giving it the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're like, what do you want to accomplish this year? Anything personally? You're like, man, if I did that this year, that'd be really cool. Anything personally?
What about you, Corey?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know.
It's not as easy as it looks.
Well, it's not as easy to explain, I guess. So with my outdoor organization, we're going to start our podcast up again. And so for me, I need to surround myself with there's 5 people that I need to connect with that we have written down on paper that can help us like move our mission forward too. And we can add stuff to their life because they don't really know us. So that would probably be the first thing that comes to my mind.
It's good. Yeah, I think when you get those things that you need, that target clear, then you go, who can get me there? Make a list of those 10 people. I always try to do 20, but if you've never done it before, I would do either 5 or 10. Kind of have that list of top 20 for me, and then think, okay, how can I get in their proximity? How do I buy my way first and foremost into their proximity? I think every good entrepreneur should open their wallet, put out their credit card, and say, how do I get in front of this person? Because that also is a way to earn your way in their presence.
I will say honestly, like not just because we're on a podcast right now, but podcasting is one of the probably easiest ways to get into a relationship with people, because I don't know what it is. I remember when we started our Rooted Outdoors podcast, and I was shocked. I literally was shocked at how many people I had like literally just sent like an Instagram message to our Facebook message, and they're like, sure, man, when do you want us on? And we're like, wait, what?
That was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and sometimes you look at people as like untouchable, like they've done all these things or they're on TV or whatever. We all fall victim to that, and I was definitely there. I was like, how is that? Like, okay, cool, let's do it. And it was like one after another. In fact, we went back through and looked at some of our like podcasts that we recorded, and we were putting out like kind of like throwbacks, and I picked the top 5, and I was like, those are literally some of the top 5 people in the industry, and I would recommend a podcast, honestly.
It's a powerful point, and actually Russell Brunson wrote about that in I think it was Marketing Secrets or his most recent book. I think he wrote about it. He used the example of Arsenio Hall. And you guys might be too young for Arsenio Hall, but Arsenio. I got the eye roll. Arsenio Hall had a show for a long time, right? So he gets on The Apprentice with Donald Trump, right? This is years ago. So he's on the show, and they have a task they're supposed to do. And he's supposed to raise enough money, and he reaches out and starts making all these phone calls. Anyway, they get back in the boardroom, and he literally had raised $0. And he said something that was so key. He said, when I had my show, I could call anyone, and they would pick up my call. They would take my call. Now I don't have a show. No one takes my call. Think about that for a second. The power of the ability to get attention. People are like, yeah, call me. Let's go. He doesn't have the same reach, the same attention. That's the power of a podcast.
Yep.
you have the attention of people, you can reach out to them and have them on your podcast. I've been able to do that. That's been a blast to meet some of the people we've met because of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's definitely people that we probably never would have gotten into contact with.
And nowadays, like, it's so easy to have a podcast, honestly. Like, the technology and the platforms and stuff that are out there, like, every business owner should be looking into a podcast.
Well, it's because the benefit is also that it's reciprocal, right? Because by bringing you on, I'm getting you a ton of attention, but we're also getting the chance to bond and build connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys remember, but that's how Ken Moskowitz, Spanky, is coming to connect. Live on the show, on the podcast.
Yep.
He's like, I don't know what's going on here, but I like it. Let's continue to a second date, if you will. He's like, let's do this. I'll come to connect one of the dates so that we could get into proximity because of what's happened.
Yep.
Yep. So it's a good point, man. Have a podcast.
So the power of proximity goes both ways too.
Oh,
It's not just intentionally trying to get in somebody else's orbit, it's them coming your way as well.
And it's putting yourself in the way of, like, things you have no idea that are even going to happen, too. Like, things just happen when you get on a podcast with somebody or you get in a relationship with people. Like, I mean, honestly, it wasn't like I was looking to become a COO. Like, that was the farthest thing from my radar. I was looking to build a real estate business, and I was locked into that. And then all of a sudden, this Master Networks thing started to become more and more, and it's like, I didn't expect to be living in Texas. Like, if you would have said that to me, I would have never said it. I love Texas. Don't get me wrong, I love Texas, but, like, it wasn't on our radar. Right. Jen and I weren't talking about it. So you just never know. You never know where that could take you and, like, how it can change your life,
Yep. Be open to it.
Because it was if you think about it, the goal was to grow the real estate business and maybe get some help with launching a Master Networks chapter, and then it just snowballed into this, what it is today,
But then what was it about, like, the invitation? I mean, I know we were talking about you working with Master Networks, but what was it about, like, that made you open to that, to say, yeah, I'd consider uprooting my family and moving to Texas and
That's a
whole
big
new
decision
career
to make.
change, and, like, there was a lot of changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a couple things. I mean, we, as a family, we always talked about, like, living somewhere else other than Pennsylvania. Jen always lived in PA, and I pretty much did. I lived in Florida for a little bit, but, and she probably would live in Florida if we had that opportunity, but Texas was it. But, like, yeah, I mean, we talked about that, and then I think once it was on the table and we started looking into the possibilities of, like, the good schools here, the opportunities, the economic growth, the tax break, like, all, I mean, honestly, like, all that stuff. And then again, just living in a different place and being able to kind of just like, for me, like, Jen's a little bit different probably, but for me, it was like, wow, that's a challenge, right? Uprooting your family, like, loading up a truck and moving out here and all that stuff. Like, that was a challenge to me. It was probably a little bit more fearful to her, but, like, she's obviously happy she did it too, So I think it was a lot. The opportunity to obviously, again, like, serve more people.
Yeah, right.
And be in proximity to this awesome place. So
We're so happy that you're here. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, it was awesome. Let's do it again sometime.
What is one song that always puts you in a good mood?
Let it go. Here we go. No, not let it go.
That is not what I expected.
I meant let it. You were about to say something, and I was just like, let it go.
No, I was thinking,
I feel like this will show a lot of personality.
Oh,
Ooh.
gosh. Okay.
Down with the Sickness by Disturbed.
Oh, I could go with that one, too. Was that what we were just...
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just playing that.
I love that song. But
see, I mean, I can, like, go... It depends what mood I'm in.
That's what I was trying
But
to
like
determine.
a good mood, like like, say you're having a really bad day or you're feeling moody, and you, like, hear the song and you're like, okay, it's gonna be.
I think
a
it
good
depends
day.
on why I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah, I don't know.
I need to overcompensate with different things.
I could do like, I mean, like, Corey and I were kind of joking about this one day. I'm like, what's the mood song, like, at the gym? I'm like, okay, maybe Rage Against the Machine, something like that. Like, we were joking about that, or yeah, some 90s, because I'm a kid of the 90s, some rock thing like that. I just don't know about a song.
Smells Like Teen Spirit
That's
by
a good
Nirvana.
one. You know
That's
what?
a good one.
That's a good one. There's another one, and it's not really, I can't think of the name of it because it's not really a song. I have to find it on YouTube, but I play it every time my boys were going to football. And it's, I think it's called Here Comes the Boom with Nelly. It's like, I don't even think there's much words to it. It's more of the
feeling,
sound
yeah.
And that's what my boys listen to, and we get pumped up for football.
It's okay. We know your real answer is Let It Go. So
Let it go.
We have it on camera.
Let it go. I'm not singing it either. Hey, but it was a good episode today. I think we learned a lot about the power of proximity, and I liked what Corey talked about, being intentional and the ideas that we came up with of ways you can get in proximity. But I still don't think we should let you off the hook. You need to come up with somebody that you're going to be. You don't have to tell us who, but to come up with somebody that you're going to get in proximity with.
I don't know who, but I think because you had asked at one point like what it was that I was trying to accomplish this year.
Yeah.
I think honestly it would probably be something podcast related.
Oh,
just confidence booster or just how to.
I mean, I think you're doing wonderful. We talked about this at the beginning of the year of who was going to co-host. You didn't want to initially when I asked.
I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, we were sitting in a meeting. If y'all watching this, you should know we were sitting in the meeting talking about it, and Elizabeth's taking notes, and Corey and I both go, I think Elizabeth would be great.
And I laughed.
And she laughed, and we stopped. No, we're serious. But that's a good one.
Yeah,
right?
no, I think that's what it would be. I don't know who yet. I'll have to get intentional about it, but yeah.
Yeah, who could you follow? Even mentally get in their proximity, but they don't necessarily have to know it either. Because there's people I'm in proximity with virtually that I've never met, and I follow their training and stuff. So some good ones.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were saying is the proximity doesn't have to be in person. It's not a physical proximity. It's the mental.
Right. If you want to build a relationship, it does have to.
It does, yes.
Right? So good episode today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great job.
Next week on Word of Mouth.
You know who you need, you get them in, you constantly have to push them and challenge them.
If you have a business, you are sales. And you can't give that up.
You can bring somebody on and show them how to do it, and then if they flourish and thrive and tweak it from there.